Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Bhedeva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandhadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Sunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sankapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Dadgatena Manasam Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantanna Vidhussura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Namaste everyone. Once again.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste. Namaste. Shri Bhagavanuvacha. Namaste. Prajahati yada kama sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha stita prajnastaduchyate. So we are discussing the three important stages of Jnana Yoga. Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Shravanam, as I said, means receiving the scriptural teaching from the Guru. Guru Shastra Upadesha. This acts as a special mirror which the student appropriately uses to discover one's real nature. Therefore, Shravanam removes self-ignorance. Shravanam helps self-discovery. And as I said, Shravanam serves as a mirror to see my real I. Just like the mirror on the wall helps me to see the body, my body basically. Physical body only you can see. You can't see the subtle body and the causal body in a mirror on the wall. And in the second stage of Jnana Yoga, that is Mananam, the student tests his conviction about the teaching he has received in the first stage. The student has received the teaching, but at the same time, the student has also been exposed to other darshanas, other points of view of Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Student is confused. He doesn't know which is the one that he should believe. And that is the first obstacle the student has to overcome in Manana. He must not believe in any of the darshanas, At the same time, he must not reject any of the darshanas. Because every philosophy or every darshana needs to have its basis in the Shastra. If it does not have basis in the Shastra, it becomes one's personal view. So, just like, we have in the courts, whenever the lawyers argue before a judge, they cannot put out their own personal views, whether a particular thing is legal, illegal, etc. They have to go by precedents, by the written law, by the act, which is by the Constitution of India. Similarly, whenever any darshana is to be evaluated, it has to be evaluated on the basis of what the Shastras say. Now, we have a problem here. Because when we talk about Shastra, we are talking about 4 at least main categories of Shastras. Vedas, that is Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Itihasa. These are the 4 sources from which we get all our teachings, Shastric teachings. So now, which we should take? Whether we should go by what Itihasas say, or we should go by what the Puranas say, or we should test the knowledge against the Smriti Granthas, or we should actually validate whatever learning is there against the Shruti, which is the Vedas. And in one of the earliest classes, in the beginning, introducing about Shastra and all that, I had mentioned that the hierarchy of the Shastra is, at the top is the Shruti, the Vedas. Then the message of the Vedas are slightly expanded in the Smriti Granthas. Then after that, they are little more diluted and expanded in forms of stories, etc. in the Puranas. And the Itihasas also. Basically, we have got 2 main Itihasas, Mahabharata and Ramayana. They talk about how Bhagavan took avatara on this earth and how he set an example or presented himself as a role model for people to follow. Therefore, whenever we are talking of evaluation or testing our knowledge against a scriptural teaching, we must look at what the Vedas say. We can totally ignore what the Puranas say, what the Itihasas say and all, for the purposes of getting convinced about the knowledge that we have received. Puranas, Itihasas and Smriti Granthas contain a lot of other knowledge which are very useful for our day-to-day living. But when it comes to the knowledge of the self, Atma Jnanam, the only reference which is the highest source is the Upanishads. So in the Mananam stage, whatever one has received from the Guru and the Shastra, whatever one is exposed to on the basis of other darshanas, one should test the validity of all those teachings or all that knowledge against what the Upanishads say. That is the final authority. And for this purpose, the Guru is ready for any amount of discussion, any amount of clarification until the student is convinced. Therefore, Mananam involves critical analysis of the validity of all darshanas. using Nyaya as supporting logic based on one's experience. And that's why I said Brahma Sutra, studying Brahma Sutra is one of the most important sadhanas in Mananam stage. Because there, all different darshanas are discussed, and then validity of each darshana is tested against the Upanishadic teaching. So in Mananam, one makes one's own analysis of the Guru's teaching based on the complete understanding of the message of the Upanishads to gain doubt-free knowledge of the self. And therefore, Mananam is a very important sadhana and needs to be undertaken till one is convinced of the truth of the Shruti Vakyas. And this is what was referred to as Nischala in a couple of verses ago, Samshaya Rahita Jnana. After Mananam, the student gains a doubt-free knowledge of his real self. He has, in other words, Samshaya Rahita Jnana. Then we started the discussion on the third stage, Nitidhyasana. Nitidhyasanam, as I said, is meant for the removal of the obstacles of viparyaya, past orientation, past attitudes, and past behavior, etc. Nitidhyasanam is also referred to as Vedantic meditation. And it is not for acquiring any new knowledge. It is meant for assimilating the already acquired knowledge. It is just like the cow, cow eats grass. It will eat lot of grass at one time and go and sit down in some place, a quiet place. Then what it will do? It will bring back the eaten grass, chews the cud, and internalizes the food. Similarly, Vedantic meditation is the internalization process for the student who has gained the knowledge in Shravanam and Mananam. In fact, it is easier to do the sadhana of Mananam to gain doubt-free knowledge, but Nitidhyasanam could be a challenging and long-drawn process. But unless we get rid of this viparyaya, the knowledge will remain at the intellectual level and will not bring any transformation which it is supposed to bring. Therefore, getting rid of the obstacle of viparyaya is very important. We have to remember always, Nitidhyasana does not give rise to any new knowledge. It helps in getting rid of the existing misconceived notions about the self. What does this process of Nitidhyasanam involve? Nitidhyasanam, the process of Nitidhyasanam starts with the conversion of the intellectual knowledge into emotional strength, psychological strength. Because in our transactions with the world, it is our emotional personality which plays the lead role. It is our emotional personality which first deals with the inputs that we receive from the world. And more often than not, we react to the inputs based upon our past behavior, predicated upon the impurities in our mind, rather than giving a response filtered by our intellect. And this results in all sorts of conflicts. Our emotional personality is what it is because of our strong identification with our body, mind, sense complex, especially our ego over crores of births. And that is why when we receive the inputs from the world, it is our ego-driven personality which reacts, and sometimes reacts violently. This is a classic symptom of our emotional weakness. All our agitations, frustration, jealousy, anxiety, anger, irritation, etc. are all a series of emotional reactions. Therefore, in order to completely assimilate the knowledge and abide in the knowledge, it is necessary to strengthen our emotional personality. Or else what will happen? The knowledge will remain there wherever it is, in one corner of my intellect. It will remain isolated. And in my day-to-day situation, I would continue to be as bitter as before, as much a samsari as I was before. Every movement disturbed, every movement irritated, every movement anxious, afraid, angry, frustrated, worried, and suffering from all kinds of complexes. Therefore, if I should enjoy emotional freedom, then I should free myself from all the unhealthy emotional reactions. Emotional immunity is very, very important. Or else what will happen? On the one hand, you will be saying, Aham Brahmasmi, and on the other hand, you will be crying. If you observe, many of us have a very high IQ, but a very low EQ, emotional quotient. Therefore, Shravanam, Mananam alone will not help. The doubt-free knowledge gained through Shravanam and Mananam will remain as a theoretical knowledge, making no difference to my day-to-day activities. Therefore, any amount of IQ, intellectual understanding will be useful only when you convert it into emotional strength. Develop a rock-like mind which can withstand all kinds of weather. This is conversion of IQ and into EQ. Intellectual knowledge into psychological strength is very important for the knowledge to help practically. Swami Paramarthananda gives an example that this conversion is like going from one country to another country. If you carry a lot of rupees to America, it will be of no use. You may be the richest person in America, but the money that you have will be of no use. You will need to convert that rupee into dollars for the currency to be useful. Similarly, when you come to India, you have to convert the dollars into rupees, correspondingly change, correspondingly exchange. So here also, we will have to convert the knowledge into mental strength. And that is a big obstacle. This viparyaya is very difficult to overcome. Because viparyaya is the habitual way of thinking, the habitual way of doing things, the habitual attitude towards people, objects, and situations. And the removal of this obstacle is achieved in this third stage, which is Nididhyasana. Now, how to go about it? Practically. Once we have the doubt-free knowledge, we are convinced about the knowledge, the Shruti Vakyas, the Upanishads, the Mahavakyas. that is talking about myself, the real self, then we first need to examine how our present behavior, attitudes, anxieties are, and if possible, maintain a record of it. Write down in a notebook, this is how I behave. This is my attitude towards people. What are my anxieties? What are my worries? All that you make a note of it. If not writing, at least mentally you become aware of what these are. Because this is one bundle which you can define very easily. And it is all specific to each individual. There cannot be one size fits all solution here. Everybody has got their own set of anxieties and attitudes, etc. Then once you have gained this knowledge, try to evaluate if we are still mostly reactive and not responsive. And in the initial stages, despite all the Shravanam, Mananam that we have done, we will find that in our interaction with the world, we are still mostly reactive only. Our reactions are impulsive, as they call knee-jerk reactions. And because of this, one problem leads to another and eventually culminate in numerous conflicts, emotional disturbances, feeling of guilt, feeling of hurt, feeling of tit for tat, revenge, etc. He did this to me, I will have to do this to him. I will teach him a lesson. All these occur because even though we have a doubt-free knowledge of the self, as Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Satchidananda Swarupa Atma, our strong identification with the body, mind, sense complex, identification with our ego continues. So therefore, what does this sadhana of Nididhyasanam involve? As I said earlier also, it is the Vedantic meditation on the Mahavakyas, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Atma Brahma, etc. There are many hundreds of Mahavakyas in the Vedas, in the Upanishads. A Mahavakya is that which equates the self with Brahman. Atma is equal to Brahman is whatever. Whichever statement in the Upanishad say Atma is equal to Brahman is a Mahavakya. And then we have to meditate upon Bhagavad Gita slokas. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. We have seen these slokas. The nature of Atma. And then there is a very beautiful text called Nirvana Shatakam. 100 slokas are there. 2-3 slokas I will recite. It's a very beautiful one. You should meditate upon that also. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jikve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuho chidananda rupa shivoham nacha prana sangyo na vai pancha vayuho na va sapta dhatuhu na va pancha kosha hai na vakpani padam na chopastapayuho chidananda rupa shivoham. Na me dvesha raghau, na me lobha mohau, madho naiva me naiva matsadya bhavaha, na dharmo na charto na kamo na moksha, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. It's a beautiful, it's a total Nirvana Shatakam. If you memorize and then sit and recall each word, each part with understanding the meaning, that is Nididhyasanam. Keep on repeating yourself. It is just like, you have been given a name when you are born. Ganapathy, Krishnan, Raman, etc. Now, when Guruji comes and says, okay, you are Ganapathy. Let's take a very practical example. We have got sannyasis. Whenever they take sannyasa, their, the Urvashrama name is dropped and they get a new name. Some Ananda Saraswati and all that, right? In the initial stages, for them to respond when they are called by the new name, the sannyasa ashrama name, they will not respond. On the contrary, they will respond if you call them by the previous name, initial stages. So they have to do meditation. I am not Ganapathy, I am so-and-so Ananda, I am so-and-so Ananda. They have to go on repeating this message till that identification with the name Ganapathy is completely removed and the new name gets installed in our intellect. Similarly, this 100 slokas are there. We have to go on repeating it in our mind. Every opportunity. The moment we face a situation which is got a potential to give us some anxiety, some fear, some conflict in the mind, Chidananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. Recall in your mind, I am not. All these reactions belong to my body, mind, sense complex. What I am Chidananda Rupa hai. I am Shivoham, Shivoham. So this has to be done, this practice has to be done for sufficient period of time. So every sloka is to be meditated upon in Nididhyasana. As even we do the meditation, we must also be alert and keep monitoring our behavior for any perceptible change due to losing our previous identity. For example, at present, if someone provokes you by speaking to you rudely, especially a person from whom you expect some respect, what will be your reaction? When you are presently identified with the body, mind, sense complex, your ego will be hurt. And you are most likely to retort in a rude manner. Inside your mind, you could be seething with anger on being insulted. It is the ego which triggers the anger. But when you start shedding your present identity and start understanding your real self, then there should be a perceptible change in your response to above situation. If someone insults you or speaks to you rudely, your attitude will be one of compassion for that person because he does not know what you know. And it is because of his ignorance that he is speaking rudely. You will simply smile and move away. Because you know that in any case, his words cannot affect you because you are Atma. the all-pervading consciousness, and no words can reach you or touch you. That is the real you. And this is the huge change that will start happening in your attitude, in your behavior, and in your response. And it will be easy to monitor this change also. Because to begin with, you may not perceive any change and may retort in a rude manner. But immediately thereafter, you will bring the new knowledge to the surface, which will make you reflect on your reaction. And if you are honest to yourself, you will feel that have a feeling of some remorse. Oh, I should not have reacted like that. If he does it, it's not necessary that I should also do the same. You may even decide that from next time onwards, you will be more careful in your response. And this process will continue for some time. You may have decided from next time I will be very measured, very calculated, very aware in my response, but still the ego may show up and force you to react. But the very fact that you have started noticing your reaction and are keen to change it shows that Nididhyasanam has started giving results. So this process will continue for quite some time till your measured and well-composed responses to provocative situation start happening spontaneously. Therefore, initially it has to be deliberate and has to be continued till it becomes spontaneous. Now the question is, how long should Nididhyasanam be practiced? Swami Paramatmananda says, one should practice Nididhyasanam until one doesn't require Nididhyasanam. I don't require it because I am incapable of forgetting my real nature. This alone they talk as Sahaja Samadhi, naturally abiding in one's own real nature. Even though I continue to do the worldly transaction, in the back of my mind, this knowledge is always there. And whenever I want, I can bring it into my conscious mind. That stage one reaches, then Nididhyasanam need not be done because it becomes your real nature. So therefore, at the beginning of Nididhyasanam, I have to study what are my emotional weaknesses. Now, many people have so many varieties of complexes. Therefore, what all the complexes I have, and in the light of that knowledge, I should see that all these unhealthy responses are meaningless one born out of ignorance. Somebody said that all negative emotions are developed in the dark room of ignorant mind. Just like all negatives, photographic negatives, are developed in the dark room. Similarly, in us also, all the negatives, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Raga, Dvesha, Bhaya, you can list a lot of them. All negatives are developed in the dark mind of ignorance. And once a person has gone through this third stage of Nididhyasanam, then he has converted his jnanam into sthita prajna. Through Shravanam and Mananam, he gets prajna through nididhyasanam. He converts prajna into sthita prajna. Swami Paramarthananda also prescribes another exercise, which he calls his FIR exercise. FIR means frequency. I stands for intensity, and R stands for recovery. What does it mean? Whenever in the initial stages of practicing nididhyasana, whenever you are emotionally disturbed because of your past orientation, past attitude, past behavior, start measuring the frequency of such occurrences. If over a period of time the frequency is coming down, that means your nididhyasana is paying its result. Similarly, you observe the intensity of your reaction, of your emotional disturbance. If the intensity is coming down over a period of time, then nididhyasana is having effect. Similarly, recovery time. You are emotionally upset, but you very quickly recover from that situation. Another measurement for you to evaluate whether nididhyasana is working or not. That is how this nididhyasana sadhana has to be pursued with complete awareness and keeping in mind the importance of bringing the knowledge that we have gained through Shravanam and Mananam to the surface and keeping it there in all our day-to-day transactions, interactions with the world. And therefore, Bhagavan Krishna wants to deal with the two topics in this portion. One topic is how to convert prajna into sthita prajna. And another thing is, after converting into sthita prajna, what type of mind you will enjoy. That mind is called Jivan Mukti. In fact, a Jivan Mukti mind is a light mind, enjoyable mind, a lovely mind. A mind which is not burdensome. And because of this, many people think that jnani means having no mind. They don't understand that a jnani has a mind which is a mind free from burden, ignorance, or a mind besieged with problems. A jnani's mind is so light that he is not aware of its presence even rather. It is such a healthy mind that the jnani does not feel its presence. If we look at, our own body, the healthy parts of our body, we are not aware of its existence at all. Every part, if it is healthy, goes on doing its job, and we are not aware of its presence. But when we become aware of the presence of the knees, when do we do that? When the joints start paining, we become aware of our back, when the back starts paining or hurting while waking up in the morning or whenever it is. Therefore, When the parts give problems, then we will become aware of it. They will draw your attention and tell you, take care of me, take care of me. There is a Chinese proverb which says, if the shoe fits, shoe is not known at all or felt at all. You feel that you are walking with bare feet. And only when the shoe pinches that you are aware that you are wearing a shoe. Similarly, you feel the presence of the mind as long as there are worries, anxieties, and fears. For a jnani, since all these are not there, it is so light, he will not feel its presence. Therefore, it is said that jnani has mano nasha. But really speaking, it is not true. Jnani does not lose his mind. Jnani enjoys a wonderful mind. And what is that wonderful mind? Krishna will talk about in this section of the second chapter. So now, with all this background knowledge, let us look at this sloka. What is the first trait of a jnani? It says, Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha. A very important line. Atmaniyeva Atmana Tushtaha. Jnani is one who is happy with himself. He is self-sufficient. He does not require any external factor to be happy. He may require external factors to provide food. That's a different thing. Physical dependence may be there for food, clothing, etc. Shelter, etc. But as far as his emotional being is concerned, he is not going to go to begging bowl, asking each and everyone whether you will take care of me, whether you will love me. Jnani's life is for giving love and care. His life is not for begging for love and care. Just imagine what a wonderful attitude. As long as I beg, there will be sanctions, isn't it? That's the most potent weapon countries have today, imposing sanctions, constant blackmail. You are never at ease with yourselves. And jnani's advantage is Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha. If you want to come, you are welcome. If you want to go, you are free to go. I am very happy with my own self. I don't need any emotional crutch. I don't need any emotional support for my happiness. And not only with regard to things and situations, with regard to beings also. Why? Even with regard to his own physical body, he is not dependent upon even his physical condition. Because if I am going to depend upon my physical condition, it will be difficult for me to accept my old age. I cannot accept my gray hair. I cannot accept my bald head. I cannot accept my wrinkles. Now my happiness is dependent upon physical condition. This is what most of us have problem. Even when you are 70 years old, you are looking at advertisement which will color your hair. You want to present yourself to the world as if you are still 17 years old. Total non-acceptance of the self. If you cannot accept your own self, what to talk of your accepting the world and other people? Height of ajnana. So jnani is one who does not depend upon any of these factors. Why? Because he has got indigenous happiness. He himself is a fountain of happiness within himself. So this is the first indication of jnanam, self-sufficiency, self-contentment. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. And once there is fullness within myself, what is the natural consequence? Krishna says, Sarva kama tyagaha, renunciation of all desires, all expectations. Because desires are born of what? Vedanta has diagnosed the problem, why the desire comes. It's very simple. It is like a person looking for a walking stick. Why does he look for a walking stick? Because its legs are not strong enough to stand on their legs. And therefore, to complete myself, to support myself, I require a walking stick. Similarly, when I do not see myself as a complete person, and I think that only when there is a house or a wife or a child, that too a male child, let there be any number of girls, one boy at least must be there. Else my life is incomplete. Or children may be there, but grandchildren are not there. My neighbor has got it, but I do not have it. Therefore, it makes me incomplete. So something or the other desire is there. My eyes see apurnatvam. Kama is not a disease in itself. It is a symptom of a sense of incompleteness. And in the case of a jnani, he never sees himself as incomplete. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Therefore, I don't require anything to complete myself. I may use the things of the world, but I do not need those things. Using a thing is different from needing a thing. Because we have seen many people, we might have seen going for a morning walk. They will be carrying a small baton. I mean, especially army people, I've seen them. Small, 1 feet or 1.5 feet piece of wood. And they just use it while walking, for stylish walk. He doesn't need it. It's just a prop. How do we know that he doesn't need it? Because even when the stick falls, nothing happens to him. He is able to retain his balance. So he is not using the stick for any purpose of balancing. He is just using it for style. Whereas if he uses a stick for walking as a support, he needs the support. The moment support falls, he also falls. Therefore, the jnani may have many people around him or various things also. For a jnani, all of them are like what? That small 2 feet baton, which he enjoys waving. But for all other people, every object is a mental walking stick. If it falls, they are shattered. So kamaha means dependences born out of the sense of incompleteness. And all these dependences, sarvan kaman prajahati, because of his mental strength. And where are these kamas? He says, manogatan. All these countless numbers of desires, expectations, wriggle in the mind like worms. They are wriggling all over, torturing, inflicting pains. And all those are cleaned up, not because he forced the desire away. Forcing the desire away is called suppression. Forcibly saying no to things is called suppression. Dropping the desire itself from its root must come out of the discovery of Purnatvam. It should happen naturally. Like when fruit comes, all the flower petals, they all fall away. Isn't it? Automatically, naturally, the petals fall away when the fruit comes. Similarly, all these desires should fall because of the discovery of Purnatvam. So, this Kama Tyagaha is the second trait of a Sthita Prajna. First trait is that he is happy with himself. And that does not mean happy with himself, when he will be sitting in one corner and just keeping on laughing alone. We must not visualize such a jnani. Jnani is not a mad person. He may be smiling, walking. When he observes the world and when he observes the people, when he observes their reactions due to ignorance, there may be a smile in his face. Inside, there is a sense of Purnatvam. It is expressed when people are around. It is unexpressed when there is nobody around. Now here, the expression Kamatyagaha, renouncing all desires and becoming desireless, must be understood very, very carefully. Because this is one of the most controversial things about Bhagavad Gita. Many people understand that one should become totally desireless. Give up all desires to become a jnani. Then they question, how can Shastras say such thing? Desire is a very natural human trait. Right from the time, not only human trait, desire is there even in animals. When on a hot day, an animal like a cow or goat, etc., they move to the shade of a tree or some place where they could get they could be protected from the hot sun. There's a desire because of which they do. So desire is instinctive, one can say. So how can Bhagavad Gita say that one should be desireless? So they question the very validity of the Bhagavad Gita teaching and also the Upanishadic teaching. So we have to understand what the Shastras mean by Kamatyagaha very carefully. Because in the Shastra, they talk about two types of desires. One type of desire comes under allowed category. Like cholesterol, there are two varieties, HDL and LDL. One of them is allowed variety. Actually, it's not only allowed, they say that it is good also. Good cholesterol. Another one is only dangerous. Similarly, among desires also, we have got the allowed one and the dangerous one, or not allowed one. Therefore, we should clearly know what is allowed so that we can happily enjoy those desires. So what are the allowed desires? The allowed desires are those which fulfill three conditions. So if those three conditions are fulfilled, those desires one can have, even a jnani can have. What are the three conditions? The very first condition is that they must be legitimate desires. what we call dharmic desire. Like a desire of a parent that a child should grow well, study well, the child should be well educated. I should be able to do my duty towards my children, my family, my parents. So I want to fulfill my duty, which is a very legitimate desire, and Shastras allow for such desires. In fact, Shastras ordain that such desires should be fulfilled. They are legitimate desires. They are desires which actually act to discharge your responsibility towards your family, towards your society, and many cases towards your own self. A desire to eat food. You cannot say, no, I don't have any desire to eat food. That will be a great disservice you will be doing to your body, mind, sense complex. Similarly, I want shelter. I want to buy a house. I want to buy certain things by earning money legitimately. All these are all desires for a grihastha. They are also legitimate. A jnani may have a desire to set up an ashram. To propagate the teachings of the Upanishads, to propagate the culture, to propagate the knowledge of the Sanskrit language. He may have a desire to conduct annadanams for poor feeding. All these are legitimate desires. Shastra allows for all these desires. As long as the means to achieve their desires are also dharmic and legitimate. Only when I try to use illegitimate means or adharmic means to fulfill these desires, that becomes a problem. Therefore, the first condition is legitimacy of desires. Second condition is moderation. What do we mean by moderation? When a person's worldly desires go to such a level that his whole life is dedicated only to material pursuits, that he has got no time to contact his spiritual center, that is not moderation, that is excess. Because the Shastra says, however much you are busy, you must be able to spend some time to contact your spiritual personality, invoke your spiritual personality. You should be able to allot some time for spirituality. Many people, big bosses in the corporate world, they give appointments to so many people, and the secretary maintains a big diary of appointments. And in that diary, on a daily basis, there should be a slot meant for appointment with my own self, appointment with God. That time I am not going to compromise on, whether morning, evening, or both the times, morning and evening, to undertake activities. It may be the study of scriptures, it may be a reflection of what you have studied, it may be reading a spiritual book, it may be interacting with a spiritual person. Therefore, it is not enough that you spend time only earning money, providing for your family. you should have time for invoking the Atma and understanding more and more of your real self. More we will see in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guruji.
Thank you so much.
Guruji, we
Yes.
discussed so much about desire. Now, when the desires become cumulative, don't you think it leads to greed?
Done.
When is
Yeah.
the limit to say that draw a line, I shall not cross this boundary, that Lakshman Rekha, who is to define that Lakshman Rekha? Self.
Everybody has to define his own self. One cannot define it for other people. I have to see whether I do this. See, the basic test we can say is, can I live without this? I have a desire to acquire something. Can I live without this? If you are spiritually inclined, you will be honest to yourself, I can do without this, so no problem. I will not go behind it. So you have removed one desire from your list of desires, cumulative desires. Something is there. Can I live without it? For example, I am suppose as even a person with a little bit knowledge of the self, I am a diabetic. I have a desire to live. Legitimate desire, isn't it? I don't want to kill myself.
Absolutely.
For which do I need to take medicines? Legitimate desire. So I should allow that desire to come. So it is a question of our evaluating each and every desire. And when your mind becomes light, then you can find that this is not cumulative. All these desires are standing in a queue. One by one, you call the desires, address them, either keep them or remove them. And it becomes, easy to say, but this has to be practiced. And in Nididhyasanam is the process through which you can do all these things now. So it is not difficult, but it takes a lot of efforts to do this. Most of the time we are totally lost. We have a set of desires. Whether we need it, we don't need it. Let me tell you, so how many people have got a desire for buying an iPhone? Or for that matter, an Apple Watch. What is it that iPhone or Apple Watch is going to contribute? What are you going to use for? At least youngsters, I can understand. For people like us, my son has been insisting that he will present me with the Apple Watch, all because he says that it will measure my heart rate and something like that. I said, I don't want to measure my heart rate.
ECG facilities.
Yeah, ECG. I said, I have got other machines to do that. I don't need some $1,000, $2,000 watch to wear in my hand. Similarly, we used to get that HMT watch. Watch is meant for time. Mobile phone is meant for talking to each other, or maybe you can have the today's context, WhatsApp,
messaging also.
But we are having so many features in mobile phones today. We pay for it, we never use it. So like that, you start analyzing each and every aspect of your life. People may criticize you. Yeah, they will say this fellow has gone bonkers, old man and all that. Let them say what they want to say. But you see for yourself, what is it that you want. That's all.
But Guruji, we are in a society. How the desire grows is because of the people around you.
Yes, yes. People around you.
That is how the desire, gradually it goes.
Yes,
Delta
true.
delta T, like that.
I will tell you a simple, straightforward example. Owning a car.
Hmm.
I live in a society where people have got 5 cars. They don't have parking space for that.
Parking
And since
space.
I returned to India in 2013, we decided that we will buy a car only if we need it. And till today, me and my wife, we have not felt the need for having our own car. Wherever we want to go, which is not a very regular feature, we are not going out everywhere. We hire a Uber, Ola, so many taxis, private taxis. We just hire them and then go and come. Even when we have to go to outstation, we do that. But then people wonder, Ray, you are living in this society, you don't have a car. I said, what is that car going to add to my this thing, except that it will be, I call it a depreciable asset. And as a finance man, I will seldom invest in a depreciable asset. I will always invest my money in an appreciable asset, which will grow. So I said, what is
But
the
it
need
becomes
for
a status symbol for others.
It's a status symbol.
Symbols.
Where does that come from? From trying to mollify your ego. That fellow has got Mercedes, I must have BMW. He has got BMW, I must have something bigger than that. I mean, I don't know what it is. Some maybe, So these are all status symbols, and we get bogged down in that. We never even think whether all these desires which we are trying to fulfill, rat race that we are, in that, whether these are necessary or not. So this knowledge basically is not meant for all people, right? They will not even accept all these things as valid. It's only people who have got a certain direction, certain thought process, understanding of what this is all about will appreciate this kind of things. Otherwise, they'll say you are.
But the greed increases. Greed will increase into criminal activities.
It will. That is why they today desire, as I said, legitimacy is one of the important things. Legitimacy does not mean that the desire itself should be legitimate. It also means that the means to achieve those desires should also be legitimate. So that is where people get compromised.
Like the way you said, do a self-analysis. Can I be without it? All these things, I think, will require strong will ultimately.
Exactly. So that is what you have to develop. As long as we identify ourselves with this body, mind, sense complex, that obstacle will be there. So what we have to do, first step, try to move ourselves, our identity away from this body, mind, sense complex and ego, and see ourselves as totally different from this. And all these desires are all relating to this body, mind, sense complex. What legitimate desires are there for sustaining, for, I would say, living in this body, mind, sense complex? Fine. By legitimate means, we can achieve that. All others, just remove them from your life. Like you clean, Diwali cleaning you do in your house. All kachara you remove and throw out, clean every place. Keep on cleaning every Diwali. In fact, cleaning the house in Diwali is symbolic. We must clean up our minds, our ego, our desires, all that. Diwali or any time in the year, once in a year, review all of them and shred them. That is how we keep on progressing spiritually. So it's Nididhyasanam, as I said, is a very, it is not one sitting somewhere, closing your eyes, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. No. Nididhyasanam is trying to live the life of a jnani. Practicing to live the life of a jnani. That is Nididhyasanam. And it takes a long time. Of course, if you are not married, for example, you have taken sannyasa. You have taken sannyasa after brahmacharya. It becomes a lot more easier because you have no family, no wife, no possession of yours. It becomes a lot more easier. But once having come into the samsara from the family life, grihastha life, get out of it, is not going to be easy. But then that is the biggest challenge. I mean, if you are able to do that, nothing like it. That is what it is. Yeah. Yes,
Thank you,
Sulekha ji.
Guruji. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah, I'll come to you. Sulekha ji, question.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Hari Om. Yeah.
My question is around the sense of purva, the sense of fullness. Does it go hand in hand with santosha, that sense of contentment with what one has and what one is?
Sense of purnatvam you are talking about?
Yes.
Yes, it goes with the sense of contentment. Because how do you get the sense of contentment? Either you don't need a thing, you are contented without it, or you need a thing and you have got it, you are contented. Correct? So with respect to that particular item, you become purna. Contentment is there. So from any anxiety about getting that thing or not getting that thing is removed from your mind. That part of the mind enjoys lightness, right? So like that, if you actually extrapolate that same thing to all the things that you don't need in your life, and you very consciously say, I don't need this, then contentment automatically arises. That's why Atmani eva Atmana tushta. All I need for my happiness is my own self. I don't need any TV to watch. I don't need any book to read. I'm very happy with myself. That's all. That's, of course, the highest stage of a Sita Prajna. But we can, once we understand this is the route, we can start moving towards it. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hari Om. Yes, Srikanji. 1 minute. Srikanji. Then I will come to you.
Sir, Swamiji, Guruji, Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Just a couple of comments. One comment is about the Sthita Prajna Lakshanam that you were talking about, that he's happy, but he doesn't need to sit down and, he doesn't need to sit in one place and keep smiling, kind of a thing. What I actually recalled was Prahasanniva Bharata. Krishna is sitting and in the battlefield, he is as though smiling. Probably that's the state in which Krishna is always.
Always, yeah. Always smiling. Even if somebody, Arjuna, is telling him, you are confusing me, and you tell me one thing for sure. We'll all see all that when we come, Arjuna is accusing Krishna of confusing him with telling conflicting things. Krishna again is smiling only. So that is what it is, always smiling. And the smiling is not on the lips alone. The smile is a reflection of his fulfillment, his contentment, his purnatvam of the heart. So it is again not a smile which is what they call, derogatory smile or nothing like that. Just a happy. When you see a child, doing something which you know that the child is, it's a mischievous child. It doesn't know what it is doing. You just smile. You don't become angry with the child. So Prahasanniva Bharata is that same thing only. That is the another Sita Prajna's bhasha. Yeah. Any more questions?
One more comment, Guruji. Actually, there was a stage where, I'm going to talk about little about my own personal experience. We were working for almost about 2-3 years for a particular project, some 60-65 million worth of project. The day we received it, I don't know, we were in some kind of a different kind of a state where we felt kind of fulfilled, to the extent that whatever chocolate bars we had bought, we were distributing to everybody on the road. A state of absolute bliss, if you may, happiness, contentment. That experience I had in my life. Yeah. Just wanted to share it with the group.
Absolutely. What were you doing? You are sharing your happiness through the medium of a chocolate bar, correct? When you are totally happy, automatically you will share that happiness, and that is what it because Jnana is love and compassion to the world. So the happiness is something, when we have got experiential happiness. What you're talking about is experiential happiness. And the happiness of a jnani is, countless times more than that happiness. Just imagine what will be that condition. Taittiriya Upanishad, if you study, you will know what is that kind of happiness. Okay.
Beautiful,
Yes.
Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, who was that who was raising? Yeah, Vijay Priyaji, who is that? I can't see your face.
I'm Vijay.
Yeah. Okay, tell me. Yeah.
I am still stuck with this point which you said. While handling the rude people, when you have to handle rude people, you have to do the nididhyasana. That you are insisting upon Shravana Manana thing. That is, you should understand that we are not the body mind complex. You have to come out of that thing. What is it, and how do we come out of it so that we can handle thing?
There is no physical coming out. There is no physical coming out. It is just a knowledge that you gain that I am not this body, mind, sense complex, which I have taken myself to be all along. It is just like your name is now Vijaya Priya. Suppose
Yes.
I say that from tomorrow you call yourself Hema Malini. Correct?
Okay.
Are you going to do something physically to remove Vijay Priya from your body, mind, sense complex and put Hema Malini into that? No. You just have to have the knowledge that now I am Hema Malini, no longer Vijaya Priya. But will that happen overnight? It will not happen, because only you know you are Hema Malini. All others around you, nobody knows you are Hema Malini now. They will still call you Vijay Priya only, and you will respond to Vijay Priya.
Yes.
Right? But
Yes.
in your mind, whatever was associated with Vijay Priya's character is different from Hema Malini's character. So I should now behave like Hema Malini and not Vijay Priya. That is only you know that. So you have to slowly come out of that. So disassociation or disidentification with the body, mind, sense complex is not a physical act. It is an act of understanding. My identity has now changed. I am Atma. I am consciousness. All these, then that is why, the Viveka we talk about at the first stage is Atma, Anatma, Viveka. Anything that we come across in our experience, first question, does it belong to Atma or Anatma? What is Anatma? Body, mind, sense complex is Anatma. So this belongs to Anatma. Okay, let us keep it one side. When you go on looking like this, you will find nothing belongs to Atma. There's nothing. Atma doesn't need anything. It is self-effulgent, completely purna. There is nothing belongs to Atma. Nothing. Atma requires nothing. Everything is required only by our Anatma. But Anatma is very much necessary for Atma to reside. So we cannot say that replace Anatma with Atma. We can't do that. Anatma is required, but we can certainly limit the role of Anatma only for providing residence to the Atma and not allowing Anatma to go and splurge and do everything and create more and more problems for the mind. So it is a process by which we have to go through, and Nididhyasanam comes at the last stage. First of all, as I said, in Mananam, you must be fully convinced that I am not Anatma, I am Atma. Unless this knowledge comes, you will be always oscillating between whether I am Atma or Anatma, like that. In the Bhagavad Gita class, you will be Atma. Outside the class, you will be Anatma.
Yes.
That will keep on happening. So it's a process we have to carry on to some extent, ride in two boats and then switch over to the Atma boat. That is what it is. It will take time.
Thank you, Guru.
Right.
Yes.
Any more questions? Or shall we close this class?
Correct. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Premaji, I hope I have answered your question today, what you raised. What message
Yes,
you sent.
you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to the tape a few more
Yeah.
times
If you have some more
until it
doubts, you
becomes
can,
very
you
clear.
can write them. Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
I'll do
Okay.
that.
Right.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Hari Om. Thank you very much,
Hari
all
Om.
of you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.